London, 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 London. London, 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 London.
Hello, folks. Happy Tuesday. You are currently tuned into Bloop Radio London with me, Redfreya, and I'm here today in the studio with a very special guest, FAIDE. So if you want to say hi.
How is everyone?
We can hear you loud and clearly, which is great. So yeah, really happy to be here today with FAIDE, who is a rising, very talented producer. He has released on a range of great labels, including the mighty Stillborn Talent, Plano B, Frau Blau, amongst others. He's also supported a range of amazing, talented DJs across the scene in his native Brighton. That sounds a bit strange to say, but and also London. So it's great to have him here in the studio today. So thanks for joining us.
No worries, thanks for having me.
Should we kick off by, do you want to just introduce yourself a little bit and talk a little bit about your sound and who you are as an artist?
My name's James, go by FAIDE, Brighton-based DJ and producer. My sound is kind of, I don't know, it's hard to pigeonhole in the melodic techno motif, but still quite housey. Yeah, I produce out of my studio, got a home studio in Brighton, and yeah, just like you said, I managed to get some tracks out on some really highly acclaimed labels that I'm kind of beyond my wildest dreams so far, so hopefully it just continues that way.
Yeah, I mean, really, like, I mean, the production journey, you're sort of near the start, I think. I mean, I know you've got this background in more drumming, right? Like, you've been a professional musician for quite a long time, what, about a decade? Is that
So
correct?
yeah, I've been playing in bands since I was about 16 years old, and I used to tour in a band and playing drums, and then once the band broke up, I moved to Brighton and I started going more into like the electronic production side, and I found like the drumming, the percussion stuff quite easy to create, and then I'm sort of honing my craft in the rest of the sort of the production world, really.
Yeah, and I think that's really noticeable in your tracks, actually, that the percussion is like a really big part of your music, I would say, like from I mean, because I love percussive tracks, I'm really drawn to that sort of music, hence why I think that's how I came across you, like finding some of your tracks. And I've definitely been playing, especially the one that you've done with Kadosh, like with the Frau Blau track. There's like a couple on that EP, is that right?
Yeah, so there's 2 tracks, and I remember initially just like sending him over ideas, and I think they were like super drum based at the beginning, and we didn't really touch the groove of the drums that much after that, but like we added quite a lot of the sort of melodic elements, and then got a really great mix down that brought that out. And yeah, that was kind of the icing on the cake, because often I will have a track that's just loops of drums and miss some of the main melodic bits, but yeah, working together was amazing. So we got those tracks signed to his label, Frau Blau.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and you've had support from major DJs such as Frankie Sandrino, Magic Cocoon, Elke Klein, like a kind of range of people across the melodic space. I'm interested to ask you who your main inspirations are.
Yeah, I mean, it's production wise, it's kind of hard to say, because I actually barely listen to many like mixers, and like I've listened to people's tracks and stuff, but I don't like try to emulate anyone else's sound too much. Like I just get in the studio and see what happens. Like I think Jimmy Jules for me, production wise, is the biggest influence, because he kind of has this DIY kind of punk attitude of like, you know, just hit stuff. Like I did his producer masterclass, and I was like, loads of other DJs were so technical, and he is kind of technical, but he's like, pick up a pen, hit it against a glass, or, you know, like take a jack lead out of a bass, and instead of like playing the bass, just like press the feedback of the lead against something and create this kind of buzzing sound. And then in Ableton you can warp and manipulate and pitch stuff down, so you can kind of taught me that you can just create anything from music.
Yeah, and just being really physical about it. You must know Nandu as well. I'm really a big
Yeah.
fan of his work, and it's sort of in the same space. And I was listening to a chat, like an interview chat with Nandu, and he was also saying, like, he was very, very chill about things. He wasn't overly technical, and he was like, yeah, I kind of just like, I hit stuff and, you know, make like this, what's the word? Like, it's like acoustic, like very acoustic working with instruments.
Yeah.
And would you say that's your approach to
Yeah,
production then?
I mean, that's certainly the angle that like I think I've taken so far and want to continue to take. So I'm not the most technical guy, like when it comes to music, because of being in bands for so long. Like just hitting drums was what I did, rather than the whole musical theory side. And I think it's easy to think like, oh, I don't know how to play the piano or whatever, and get bogged down in that. But there's endless possibilities in software like Ableton, and you can just go mad, create ideas, and yeah, do whatever you fancy. So
Okay, so I think, so you're producing in Ableton, is that correct?
yeah.
So I want to ask you a couple of questions about your studio setup then. So in your studio, have you got any hardware, or is it all in the box? Is there a piece of gear or like a plugin that is your go-to that you love to use? Anything that you really like?
Yeah, I mean, I've got like a lot of my drums. There's actually a shop in Brighton that's like an African drum shop,
Okay,
and
that's sick.
and I've got some good bits from there, and like also stuff that isn't even drums. Like I think on a track I'm shaking some Tic Tacs. Other brands of mints are available.
So not sponsored by TikTok.
Yeah. And just experimenting like that. I've got a field recorder, so I went out and like kicked some bins and got my drumstick and hit it against railings, because I just got bored of getting sample packs and doing that when I'm literally like, I'm a drummer, so why not hit stuff? But then when it comes to like plugins for synthesizers and stuff, like the Arturia stuff I've got like Prophet 6 plugin, and then I've got a little bit of hardware, the Model D, like the Mini Moog, the Behringer copy of that, which is cool, but can't say I use it loads. So.
Yeah. And that's really interesting. I think maybe it also helps to be being like original, right? Like if you're not just using preset things and you're actually going out kicking bins, hitting railings, you know, like you're coming up with maybe things that, like as you said, Jimmy Jules is using the same approach, and he's definitely like a really original guy as well.
Yeah.
In the space. And on the side of music, so you're producing. I know you said you're going to hibernate in the studio a lot over winter to like to come up with all of your ideas, but you're also working. Are you still working as a chef alongside music, or?
Yeah, I mean, I recently like stepped down from my head chef job because like they hold lots of similarities, like music, chefing, and like sort of creating a recipe in the kitchen or a recipe in the studio for a track, but they're very demanding and they both take up some of the weekends and evenings and whatnot, so something had to give. So I'm doing a little bit of chefing here and there, but mainly cooking up in the studio. That's very cheesy.
I love it. I don't know, this is a bit of a difficult question, but just from having both jobs, and obviously you've been producing, or when did you start producing electronic music? Is the question.
I'd say like seriously about 2015 or something. I think my first release was in 2017.
Okay, so you've been balancing both for a while. So it's a wild card question, but like, do you have any advice for people around like work-life balance, or like how do you stay like on your game creatively when you're working a lot? Any tips about it, or thoughts, or how do you stay also creatively like inspired with the energy?
Well, I don't know if I'd be a good example, because I did two things that I was really passionate about: music and chefing. And you almost like, if you're doing something that you're not completely passionate about in terms of like your job for money, remember that's going to save you up the energy. If it's like mundane or whatever, it's going to save you up the energy to be really get in the studio and get excited when you get home, or in your DJing in your bedroom, or go in the studio. And if you're in a job that makes you feel like you don't have enough time to produce and stuff, just like live off the bare minimum you can to get by making tracks, rather than thinking I'm not in the studio enough but I'm banking some money, because at the end of the day you need to be productive and happy, and that should come later, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a struggle for all musicians, isn't it? And it can be hard. What about, do you ever find that you hit creative blocks? Like, because you're mostly a producer, you're coming up with your own music. I mean, I'm only really a DJ at this stage, but I even find it if I'm trying to put together like a podcast mix, and I can hit like roadblocks. Do you get that? How do you get out of that?
Yeah, I mean, I always have this conversation with other producers. I've got like a massive 1 terabyte hard drive that I call the graveyard, and it literally is just unfinished music. And even I still keep it, even if I think I absolutely hate it, because like sometimes you just want to drag one idea out after you listen like 5 years later on SoundCloud or whatever. But yeah, producer blocks. It's just for me personally, like something I've learned is just get out the studio, go for a walk, do something else that inspires you. I go down the beach, like it could be a case of like going down the beach, listen to the sea, take your field recorder out, crack some pebbles together, and maybe that is the thing that your loop was missing, something a bit more organic. But yeah, have breaks. I used to drive myself mad in the studios. I used to do like 8-9 hour sessions and not get anywhere. Now, if it's not quite there, I step out and reassess and go back.
Yeah, I find that as well. I think nature can be like such an inspiring thing, and especially for the sort of music that we're all like really into and we're trying to create. It's very emotional music, and it's kind of about human connection. I mean, you mentioned that to me about trying to make music human and like bring out the human element of it. Is there anything you want to say about how you approach that?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just like actually getting out and having real experiences, you know, like I said, like going on walks and stuff. One of my biggest inspirations that I didn't mention before is Recondite.
Oh yeah, I love
like
Recondite.
he does so much like really nicely recorded stuff, and he's obviously like a producer genius and plays live, doesn't really DJ as much, but yeah, if you look on his socials and stuff, it's barely about music, it's just like
trees.
pictures of the woods and stuff like that. So I guess for him that's more inspiring than, you know, the usual stuff that us DJs and people trying to make it share. But yeah, just get out there and just, you can get inspiration from absolutely anything.
Yeah, no, 100%. And he's really quite iconic, I think, in that he's got obviously an amazing sound, but it is nice to see on his social media, for example, that it is sort of, he's using it as a canvas of his ideas and his inspirations, rather than, yeah, as you said, like all the typical stuff. I mean, I think that's like a nice segue into the music industry. And like, I just wondered if you wanted to like talk a little bit about your opinion of like what the music industry is like, the scene in the UK right now, and like, because I had a chat on here before with James Harcourt, producer. We had a bit of a chat about that as well, of like how social media has become such a big part of what it is to be a producer or a DJ or an artist. What's your perspective on social media? Like, do you think it's good, it's helpful inspiration wise, or it can be negative?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's something for me as a musician that's been from the beginning, has been in my life, whether it's been like MySpace or then Facebook or then more Instagram. There's always been something that's like the biggest platform isn't reality or face to face anymore. So I think it can be helpful, but it's also kind of dangerous, and it's also, I don't know, like everyone, like anyone can be a DJ now. Like you could probably get yourself set up as kind of a DJ in quotation marks, you know, like in probably like a day.
Yeah, if you had the right pictures
and
on social media.
and then go and do that. But I think, like, you know, like if it gets to the stage, well, it is at the stage, but like the idea that, you know, you might not be able to get a gig because your following isn't as good, or you've kind of, let's say you're a producer, like kind of like myself, that thinks the priority is being in the studio and making music, and then I've missed maybe the content day I needed to get that week, and then it might affect you, but it's unavoidable. You just have to be part of it. You know, it's just, you know, it's like anything, isn't it? It's like you can't walk around, you got to get the train sometimes.
It's definitely, it's a necessary evil for sure. And it's difficult because it's almost like now there's like the bar is really high. It's not just like sharing a few photos of yourself occasionally. It's like you actually have to kind of think creatively about how to make content, and then if you're trying to make great music, that's taking away some of your creative energy. I mean, I'm currently like doing a social media detox for the next couple of months because I'm just like, I just want to make music and I want to be inspired, and that's not happening if I just spend all my energy like on social media, you know. I think it's got worse as well, because like I was posting and stuff, and I was like, I think I'm doing all the right things. You speak to people that are clued up, and they're like, oh no, that's the wrong thing now. Instagram says the algorithm has to be like 2 reels, one at like 5:20 a.m, the other at like 7 something, so you catch the going to bed and the waking up people, and they have to be this long, and then they're better with music, and I'm just like, if we all boycott, then we might all be in the same space. Everyone needs to just go offline, like unplug. Someone else mentioned to me about like putting all of your tracks in like the shopping, like putting it as like a shopping category, because you can do, and then people like find your tracks when they're like shopping. I don't know, like I'm not a social media guru.
It's a hard one, and it's like, it's the same thing as like the videos that everyone gets, like, you know, like I'll be honest, like I've left comments or got frustrated, or, you know, if I'm seeing like a video of Printworks and it's like 10,000 people or whatever it is, like purely on their phones, but then if I was playing there, or if it, say like a big DJ was playing there and they played my track and everyone was like, well, James, you said no phones, we didn't record it, I'd be like, oh no, at least one of you get it, please. But there is a level, because like, what is the point if the next 30 people to your left and right are doing it? Just WhatsApp it, you know, to me, and then you might meet a friend anyway. Send me it.
And like I mean, naming no names of like big labels who've had shows recently in big venues here, but I mean, I think it is a bit sad when you see that the whole crowd is just on their phone the whole time, really. Like, it kind of pulls away from their experience of being on the dance floor.
I let myself get like one. I went to see Bicep the other night and I got one picture and it was awful, and then I was just like, yeah, but it was good, like, 'cause when I was there, so I didn't need to think about that. But you know,
I understand the need to like make the memories and can like remember the tracks, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, if you're filming the whole thing, then yeah, you're just not in the moment. All right, well, I'm really keen to get into some tracks in a moment. Is there anything else you want to tell people? Probably like give your Instagram handle as well, your SoundCloud. I mean, yeah, so people can come follow you.
Yeah, sure. So I'm on the usuals. Facebook is FAIDE Music, and then Instagram is FAIDE_music, and SoundCloud is also FAIDE Music. So yeah, if you want to follow me on there, my most recent track came out on Mood Music on a compilation compiled by Jeppe, who's a good friend of mine. He also did a remix for me, so that's sort of how we became friends on my Asymmetric release. So you should go and check that out, that one out as well. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, no, it's really great. And just to confirm, it's FAIDE. That's right. Yeah, it's like FAIDE, not FAIDE with just an A.
No,
so
yeah.
people can find you.
FAIDE.
Yeah,
that's the one.
FAIDE is really releasing some really excellent music. Really big fan of his tracks. Very excited to see what he's going to play for us today. So get locked for the next 45 minutes or so of the show, and go give him a follow on Instagram, SoundCloud. Check out his music as well. Thanks for tuning in.
You're now listening to Bloop London.
We're now in the last 5-10 minutes of Faide's show. So I really hope you've been enjoying the past hour of music. As a reminder, we always share the track IDs on Instagram after the show. The show will also be available for you to listen back to. And a reminder, you can check out all Faide's music and new releases on his Instagram and SoundCloud. It's at FAIDE, FAIDE. Thanks for being here. Faide Music, yeah. Thanks for being here, Faide.
Thanks so much for having me. Thanks for everyone for listening.